Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Randy Hux, who's the founder and president of Hux Capital Management, and we'll be talking about building trust in financial advisory. Randy, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Mike. I'm excited to be here, and I look forward to our conversation.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to chatting with you as well, and I want to dive into all of these topics. But before we get too much further, give us a little bit of your story and background, and how did you get into the financial services industry?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm a former CPA. I graduated from college at Texas A&M University in 1984, and I had a degree in accounting and finance. And when I got out of school, I worked for Ernst & Young as a CPA. And did that for several years and didn't really like the industry. So I decided to get into the biotech field. I had some colleagues of mine that had moved on and were in that field, and some friends of mine, and they asked me if I would enjoy doing something like that. I said, well, shoot, yeah, it sounds like fun being in medical sales. So I did that for about 15 years, but my whole premise, my whole goal, the whole time I was working was to eventually become a Division I head baseball coach. That was my driving force. And so in my early 40s, I found a position as a college baseball coach. And so I took that opportunity, and I had accumulated some wealth at that time. And during that time that I had accumulated wealth, of course, I had, some of the bigger firms that you well know the names of, they were managing my money. And I was very displeased with all three of them. And that was over about a 7 or 8 year period. And so that kind of 2008 hit me really hard, because when you're an assistant coach, you're not making much money in college. Even a lot of head coaches in college, believe it or not, don't make a lot of money. But as an assistant, I wasn't making much money, certainly relative to where I was. And so I was trying to live off of my nest egg. And at the same time, the markets are collapsing. And so I would go to these advisors. I'd say, what are you guys doing about it? And they're like, well, there's nothing we can do. We just got to kind of hang in there. And I never liked that hang in there response. And so in 2008, 2009, I had to give up my dream. And it was devastating. And to this day, I still wish that never would have happened. But I had a family to take care of. I had 2 young kids. And it was more important to me to take care of my family than it was to live my dream of being a college baseball coach. And so I said, well, what else could I do? And I thought about it, and I was like, I don't want to go backwards. So I don't want to go back into biotech or medical sales. Don't want to be a CPA. I said, well, if these guys are just giving mediocre advice with several different firms that I've used, why don't I try to figure out how to do this and do this in a way that works for all people? So that's kind of what brought me to this point, was my bad experiences in this industry with the different advisors. And now I'm like, hey, how can I figure this thing out? Can I figure this thing out? And I think we've done a really good job over the years doing that and building plans for people that allow them to retire, allow them to have effective and properly managed investments. And actually, I've learned that I still am a coach. I'm just a retirement specialist coach.
Yeah.
So that's what got me here.
I love hearing that kind of story where you go, I noticed something in the industry, my personal experience, that I did not like. So I moved on from it. And then you then formed your firm, your service to your clients based off of what you didn't want to provide to them based on what you didn't like. So when you think about what your experience was then versus what you've built, what sets you apart from other advisors? Because there may be many people out there going, you know what, my guy, my gal isn't cutting it. I need to find something. Where's that gap? What are you doing differently that differentiates your firm?
Well, I appreciate you asking that, because there are a lot of things that are very, very important to me, and that were important to me as a client, that I promised myself I would figure out the answers to them as I became an advisor. And when I use the word advisor, a lot of people call themselves advisors, financial planners, or what have you, but I'm actually a licensed fiduciary. So I take that title of fiduciary and that responsibility extremely seriously. And so, we, in every aspect of our business and every detail that we talk about, from service to planning to investing, everything that we do is customized to every single person's best interest. And everybody, one thing I've learned is everybody is different. Everybody has different comfort zones, and we're totally okay with that. We enjoy being flexible, and that was something that I didn't really get. I got kind of a canned approach. And so
Yeah.
I didn't get a lot of advice from a tax standpoint. I didn't get a lot of advice from, investment alternatives. I didn't get any advice on how to protect some of my assets. And so when I learned how to do these things over time, I brought those into the business. And I still think that that's one of the things that makes us different. I will tell you this. We're very personable. We enjoy our relationships with our clients, and we want to make sure that it is a really good fit for both of us. And I think uh, from what I've experienced, it's not always that way in our industry. I
Yeah.
will tell you that I think that most guys just want to get your nest egg, and build their residual income off of that. We have no interest in that. We really want to build a holistic plan for you. So I think that's where we're different. We're not just trying to
It
gather
reminds
assets.
me, two words jump to my mind when I hear you say that: independent and team. And it reminds me of
Yeah.
like in the real estate industry when you hear like the listing agents that, they list your house and they just enter it into the MLS and walk away and they hope that someone finds it. And it's like, well, a monkey could have done that. Well, it's same way you're talking about the big guys out there that you see on TV or the radio. Maybe some of them take just like one cookie cutter canned approach and go, here you go. But being an independent, aren't you able to say, hey, I'm not restricted to certain products and certain opportunities. I can look and see what benefits you the best because as that fiduciary, you're driven to do the right thing legally, actually.
Yeah, and the thing is a lot of these other guys are licensed fiduciaries as well, right? It's just
Yeah.
that they work for brokerage firms.
Yeah.
And the term brokerage firm means exactly what it says. Brokerage. They make money off of brokerage fees. That's how
Yeah.
they make money. So they have proprietary products for you. Whereas you're exactly right. As an independent financial advisor, licensed fiduciary, we run all our money through Charles Schwab. We even use Fidelity, those two entities, but primarily Charles Schwab. And so any of our strategies are completely independent. They're solely based on the client's needs. And so that is a big, big difference maker. We don't have,
Yeah.
I have no production quotas. I don't put production quotas on the people that work here for us. We just expect excellence. We don't expect
Yeah.
perfection. We strive for it, but we expect excellence, not
Yeah.
only in our people professionally, but also personally.
I think that when you take that mindset across all industries, those people are going to be the winners. It's kind of like, hey, he's a real go-getter. Well, no, it's really turn it around. He's a real go-giver. If you give value and you lead with love and you expect to have excellence and always watching for ways to tweak and improve, that's going to make your business better. But the net result is that client feels it. The clients are like, wow, they care. We're not just another number. And I've heard it said real is rare. And I know that another R word in the financial services industry is risk. What are you doing to make sure your clients are protected as much as possible from risk? Because probably there's not much you can do to eliminate it, but you can mitigate it.
We do, and I'd like to elaborate just a little bit on what you said there, for a second, and the fact that we really do want people to see that we are people that do care about them, and we do want the absolute best outcome for them that we can possibly put them in. I think of it as a coach, right? Like, I don't put a left fielder at shortstop. That doesn't fit. So why would I take a client's portfolio and put him in a much riskier situation than what he's comfortable with just to try and leverage earnings? I wouldn't do that. I want everybody to be comfortable. I want them to understand both sides of it. So that gets to your risk question. How do we manage risk? there are multiple ways that we manage risk, from Roth conversions, right? I mean, we also manage risk inside of portfolios by taking some of your assets out of your portfolio, and we place them into some products, some strategies that provide 100% protection from market loss. Very important. This is not taught by many advisors out there because
Yeah.
it costs them money when they do that. But it
Right.
is a very important component of portfolio construction and retirement planning, is to make sure you have a piece of that shaved off. So that's another way that we mitigate the risk in the portfolio, is by giving them zero risk for market loss. But there are
Yeah.
multiple other strategies that we use, and primarily we're just proactive, very
Yeah.
proactive in the way we manage money.
Well, and it's like you've mentioned a few times, you mentioned Roth conversion. We can go off on a 4-hour conversation about the pros and the cons, but that's a wonderful strategy for some people, and it might not fit for other people, but it's not the solution for every single person. And moving money out of a portfolio into a product that gives guaranteed and insulation for market risk. If someone heard what that one was and go, "Oh, I want all my money in that," that wouldn't be smart, because you got to have that diversification across all of those. So the whole bottom line is, you mentioned this a couple times, but being that coach, it's almost like you're a life coach of sorts to say, "Hey, what does retirement look like, feel like to you?" And everybody's story is going to be different. And then if client A's story is whatever the case is, oh, we want to start a nonprofit, travel more, visit the grandkids. That might be totally different than the person that goes, "I just want to sit back because I worked hard all my life." Everybody's situation is different. So talk a little bit about how you really help fine tune to their dreams and desires to make sure that you get them there.
Okay. I want to tell you how intimate and how personal our relationships are. They're as intimate and personal, our relationships with our clients, as they allow us to be, right? Some
Yeah.
people are very private, but
Yeah.
I'll tell you a case in point of what you're describing right there. I had a couple sit in here, a 60-year-old sit in here last week and tell me that he didn't have a job and wasn't sure what he was going to do, and doesn't really have a lot of money anymore, and gave him the whole deal. We didn't talk anything, hardly anything about money in his accounts with us. I sat there and tried to coach and counsel him, like man to man, like, "Hey, how can I help you? How can I
Yeah.
help you as a man, as a fellow human being?" And then let's talk about the money, but the money's just going to help you get to the end. And so there's a number of things that we do within those portfolios to help people, but it is all very, I could tell you, it is a very personal relationship that we all have in our office with all of our clients. We have clients all across the country. But one thing we're not is we're not product salespeople. We don't look
Yeah.
to sell products. What we look to do is get people in a position to where they can retire with a peace of mind, knowing that they have something guaranteed in their best interest that will get them for the rest of their life all the income that they need, if possible. And then we properly and proactively manage the rest of it, along with tax mitigation, estate planning. We talk about Medicare, when they need to take care of that, Social Security issues. We're well aware of IRMA and all those issues. So we do all those things that, we're a virtual family office is what we are. And so that's how we operate, and that's how we help people. But people better be ready. People better be ready, because we only take clients that are interested in really a good relationship.
And you
We
might
want
ask
to have
those
a
tough
good.
questions.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You mentioned family office, and I mentioned the word team, and the word holistic comes to mind.
Yes.
And I would venture to say that if an advisor was that product pusher and all they sold was whatever product, then that might be a nice decision as a silo, like, "Oh, well, I bought this one product and it's a good product." But if it doesn't fit into the overall plan holistically, and you didn't make sure that this product didn't impede with the tax or the legal or the whatever, talk a little bit about the holistic team approach that family office provides to your clients.
Yeah, that's and again, these are things that I think set us apart from others,
Yeah.
and that we don't have one sole purpose, right? Like, we don't just manage your money. We will if you want us to. We'll do whatever you ask us to do in terms of helping you to get through retirement. And if that's just investing your money, that's fine. But we like to take that completely holistic approach. I mentioned it to you a minute ago. So I kind of have a pinwheel that I go through with clients as I present to them either in the office in our conference room or present to them on a Zoom call like we're doing right now. And basically all the parts of that pinwheel are managing your money at Schwab, their long-term care needs that you're going to need to cover or at least think about, all your estate and tax planning. Tell you what, there's a lot of advisors out there that are not spending enough time on tax planning for clients and finding ways to reduce taxes. That's what we spend a majority of our time doing. We do like to help with the Social Security issues and when is the right time for them to file. We want to help in all these aspects because when you put it all together, it all works to protect you. So I'll tell you to this point, even, we ask some of our clients or all of our clients actually to buy some real assets. I've been telling them and advising them for years, take some of your money from your account here and go buy yourself real assets. Well, what do you mean, Randy? Well, go buy real estate. You need real assets. Go buy yourself gold and silver. So most of my clients have followed that advice over the last 12, 15 years, and they're pretty happy right now. They're very happy with their gold and silver, right? And I still get calls on it. We also ask them to make sure that we invest their money in uncorrelated assets, things that are not directly tied to the market. And that whole balancing and diversification effect, it has worked fabulously for our clients. We know that if the markets are down a particular month, or if we go through a recession, that we can move money around to try and as best we can to get them through that tough period. But there's a lot of different moving parts to this. It's not so simple that, I can just tell you, hey, this is all that we do. We just invest your money. There's a lot more to it. And so hopefully that makes sense. But we certainly want to make sure that all the pieces fit together and that we don't have too much in one area because that's never good.
Yeah. If you heard, oh, real estate sounds great, I'm going to put every dime I own in real estate, then what if 2007, 8, 9 happened again? Then you're up the creek. Talk a little bit about the integrity of keeping that transparency. Like you just mentioned something there where I know in the financial services world, if you told people go invest in real estate, I'll bet you that your firm doesn't make too much money on that advice. But that kind of gets down into the transparency level of, hey, this is just good advice. Whether I benefit or not, this is just good advice. How does that transparency help to raise the integrity level of building those deep relationships with your clients that you've mentioned?
Yeah, thank you for asking that, man, because that is really even a Roth conversion, right? When we do Roth conversions and we do that, that takes money out of our investment portfolio, that takes money out of our pocket, but it's the right thing to do, Mike.
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do. And so that's how we sleep really good at night because we're always as authentic and as pure and as transparent as you're going to find. And we want people to feel that. We want people to see that. And then we want you to actually see it in your portfolios as well, to the point to where we have software that alerts our clients when every day that they meet an all-time new high, they'll get a text and an email message. And it says, hey, congratulations, Mr. Smith. Today you hit an all-time new high in your account.
Neat.
They don't have to monitor their accounts anymore. At the end of the week, we send them a report of all their accounts and their values in all their accounts and what the growth rate is. So they don't have to sit there and go and find it, dig around and Schwab and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So those are some real conveniences. We want to be super transparent and we want to be very communicative with our clients. And those are some of the ways that we do that.
Well, it's been really eye-opening to hear those ways that differentiate you from other advisors. And I know there's probably more, but it kind of gets into that experience. You're not going to really experience it until you dip that toe in or get a second opinion. So if someone is hearing this thinking, maybe I'd like to have Randy and his team take a look at my situation, retirement portfolio, what's the best way that they can learn a little bit more and also reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, of course. You can always go to our website, which is Hux, Hux, Capital Management. Capital Management.com, HuxCapitalManagement.com. And you can learn a lot about us right there. Feel free to, if you would like to set up a Zoom call with me and go through your stuff. We don't charge for this analysis. We don't charge for those calls or any of that. We really want to be, again, authentic, transparent. We want to give people solutions that they can't find in other places. So many guys out there want to, they want to do a plan and charge you $3,000. Well, I don't need to do that because your life is going to change. We just want to be there for you as your life changes and adjust with you. But another way too to connect with us is through our 1-800 number, which is 800-988-7855. That's 800-988-7855. And just reach out to us. We have a fantastic service team, and they will definitely help book something with you. And we can just have a talk like this, just very casual. There's no pressure. We don't ever ask people for their business. We hope that we present something that's compelling enough to where they go, hey, I really like the way you do business. I really like what you presented to me. And how do we get started? So, I like for all of our prospects to ask that question. And I don't want to put any pressure on anybody because, we're not salespeople here. We're professionals and we are advisors, and we want to be professional about it.
Perfect. Well, Randy, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure chatting with you today.
Thank you. Enjoyed every minute of it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.